Welcome to Cut the BS with Holly and Rachel.
We are here to help you ditch the overwhelm, stop second guessing, and reconnect with what truly fuels your body, your mind, and your life.
No fluff, no filters, just real talk that helps you feel strong, aligned, and unstoppable. Whether you're on a walk, commuting, or sipping your favorite matcha, this is your space.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Cut the BS. My name is Rachel, aka Ray Ray, aka Bon Bon, and with me is my beautiful curly-headed co-host,
Holly, aka Holly Ramsey.
That's right. So I know that everyone is dying to know, what are the girls going to talk about today? What are we going to chit-chat about? And it being April is Stress Management Awareness Month. So we figured we'd pop in here and share with you guys some tips, some tricks, a little education on stress, how to manage it, because you know that we're all running a million miles an hour with a billion things to do. And we ain't got the time to be stressed. So here we are.
We have arrived. If you watched or listened to last week's episode, you would know that it was overstimulation nation in my house. And I made the joke about that. And then I also proceeded to clarify that that is not a state that we constantly want to live in. I'm sure we've all been in stressful situations that last longer than we would like. And we start to notice, like, okay, I'm overreacting. I'm overwhelmed. I'm, feeling all these things that I don't enjoy feeling. And so that's
Right.
why we're here to talk about stress management, why it's important, and things that you can do to better manage your stress. And again, just why it's so important to your mind and your body to actually learn how to manage that stress.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. And I mean, don't get it twisted. Stress is something that walks with us every day. We ultimately do live with stress, but it's how we manage it. It's how we cope with it. It's how we use it to navigate our lives, or even navigate our lives around it, with it. Um, so, stress is the body's response to several different factors. It could be an external factor, it can be an internal factor, it can be a thought, it can be an expectation. It's basically, stress is just the body's reaction. And so, anything can cause us stress, and something that might cause me stress might not cause you stress, Holly. And so, usually, stress is defined in two different ways. We've got eustress, we've got distress. So eustress is usually viewed as something that does cause stress to the body, but it's a positive thing. So we're framing it positively, whether it's, you know, um, I just got a promotion at my job, which is a good thing, but it's stressing me out a little bit because of the new expectations that are going to be on me, or the new expectations I have on myself. And so that's something that is positive and is progressing you in your life, but it causes a little bit of stress. And then we've got things like distress, which are usually negative things that happen in our lives that are stressful. So whether it's, we get an injury, or we have an argument with someone, that causes distress, because it's not, the situation that's happening isn't positively impacting us. And it's also causing us stress. So it's causing that reaction in the body. And so when we experience stress, a lot of things happen in the body, and our bodies react to it in unique ways. So basically, what we're here to tell you guys today is, how do we manage and cope, or find a solution? Because there are some things that are happening that will stress us out that we cannot control. And so at that point, it's, how do we cope with it, or how do we manage it as best we can, because it's there. And then there are other types of stress that maybe we can find a solution to. So whether that's, again, better management, or we eliminate, the thing that's causing us stress. So, Holly, can you tell me a little bit about your relationship with stress?
Yeah. So I think that given my knowledge, I do try to approach stressful situations with a lot of grace, and just deep breaths, whether it's something that is positive or negative. Because a big question I'm asking myself in a lot of stressful situations is this in my control? Yes. Okay. What can I do about it? Is this out of my control? No. Okay, let me take some deep breaths, regulate myself in other ways, control what I can control, and move forward from there. But I would say more often than not, I am able to frame things in I don't like to say positive way because to be honest, I don't think every situation needs to be positive rainbow and butterfly situation, but just in a way that isn't going to stress my body out.
Right.
So even if it is stressful, again, what can I do to eliminate or manage the stress in this moment, in the here and the now? Because I know that letting myself get worked up has never benefited me in any way.
Right.
So it's just like, you live and you learn, and it's like, okay, why let myself go to that situation and feel those things when that doesn't feel good? That's not helping the stress.
Right.
So I think I have grown a lot as someone who knows how to better deal with stress and with what I let stress me out. For example, if I'm sitting in traffic, maybe I'm going to be late. That's really unfortunate. Can I text someone and let them know, hey, I'm running behind because of traffic? I can't control traffic though. And,
Mm,
maybe there's something going on and somebody ahead of me has something a lot worse going on.
yeah.
At least I'm safe. I'm in my car. I'm going to arrive. When? Yeah, who knows? But, but, I can't control that ultimately. So,
Right.
like, just not letting yourself get worked up over things that you cannot control is a game changer. And that takes a lot of practice and a lot of trial and error and a lot of grace.
Yeah.
But it's much better than letting yourself live in that like fight or flight over every little thing situation.
Right. Yeah. And if there's anything I can relate to, it's the talk about traffic because down here,
I'm sure.
it was an adjustment. It was an adjustment. And I still like if there was like a hidden camera in my car, people would get a huge laugh because I am working on like not allowing myself to get stressed out when I'm driving because you've got people that drive like you got the little old grannies and grambies that be driving slow and you're like, "Oh my gosh, get out of my way." And then you've got people that are like whipping and dipping and diving trying to end my life. So, I have been working really hard on like just having patience.
Right. Yeah. Again,
So,
what's within your control in the out of controlness?
yeah, obviously we can think of things that might be much more stressful. Inevitably, that isn't just traffic, but I think mindset plays a huge role in the self talk that you participate in, and I think that just being intentional is a huge part of this. Um, I know for me, it's stress is something that on most days she's not my friend. Okay, we don't manage well with her sometimes. And I am someone I feel like the more of a control freak you are, the worse time you have with stress. And I
Hmm.
am a recovering control freak. I'm currently in recovery, doing all the steps because I have the tendency to want to control everything. And when I feel out of control, then it's just a hot mess. But I will say, like, I've been doing a lot of things that have really helped. Like, for me personally in my own life, I've been praying a lot and that's been helping. And to like, if just really asking myself those questions, like, can I control it? If yes, what can I do about it to find a solution? If no, how can I cope or manage? And like a big coping mechanism for me is volleyball. Usually, the more stressed out I am, the more I'm playing, which, it's not always like a negative, like I'm experiencing something negative, so I go to volleyball. Like volleyball is just a love that I've had for like my whole life. But it's really cool because it's a little bit of a distraction, which sometimes that's what we need when it comes to stress.
Mhm.
And when I'm playing, I feel like a free little floating bird, just, living La Vida Loca.
Mhm.
So I know that Holly, you had a lot of knowledge about the effects of working out and getting your heart rate up and, moving your body on stress.
Yeah. So I mean, just in general, when we exercise, not that every workout feels so amazing and we leave like on top of the world. We definitely have those days, I think. But in general, like even if you aren't leaving feeling on top of the world at the end of the day, exercise does release endorphins, and endorphins are
Mhm.
the feel good neurotransmitters of our brain.
We
So
love it.
those are known things that can immediately a gradual effect of like over time, the more and more you do it, the more you're releasing, the
Mhm.
better signs and symptoms, I guess, of like anxiety and depression can be, which anxiety is a huge thing that can lead to stress. I can imagine I wouldn't diagnose myself as having anxiety. Sure, I feel anxious. I think we all feel anxious. Again, there's some situations where stress and anxiety can benefit us. It means something's on the line or, we're feeling some pressure. Learning how to work under those things is healthy and good. But I think a lot of times those with anxiety feel like a lot of stress to control everything or of like, oh, well, what's the outcome going to be? And like all these like what if situations. And so that can, of course, lead to stress because then you're trying to control those things. So, exercise can be really good for the release of endorphins. It can also be
Mhm.
really good for stress, teaching our body how to manage the stress,
Mm,
specifically weight training. If
mm.
we're constantly stressing our bodies out, which is what we're doing when we're
Yeah,
lifting heavy weights, or just weights in general. When I say heavy, heavy is, um, you know, personalized to your heavy. It's not my heavy.
right.
So just want to make that caveat, if you will. But lifting weights teaches your body how to be more resilient to stress because it's
Mm,
undergoing that more often. And it's teaching the different systems within your body how to work together to better cope and better manage and like come back from that stress.
yeah,
It's an overall good thing on your body to expose your body to weightlifting to learn how to better manage the stress. Again, moral of the story is just that your body becomes more adapt
and
to
resilient.
handle.
Yeah,
Yes, more resilient and capable of handling stressful situations
right.
because you're placing it under stress more often.
Yeah, and I think, it's like I said, like, stress is something that walks with us every single day, but how our body manages it, how we manage it, how we process it is kind of like the determining factor of how different people respond to it. And I did want to, because I know you mentioned anxiety, and I know a question that I get a lot, and even, sometimes like I forget, I have to remind myself of the difference between stress and anxiety. So I did pull up a definition just so that we know there is a difference. Stress is the direct response to an external identifiable trigger, like, again, we talked about like the eustress, distress, like deadlines or conflict with people. Um, Conversely, anxiety is an internal, persistent feeling of dread or apprehension. It usually it doesn't have a specific trigger. Um, and it sometimes once if it does have a trigger, once that threat is gone, like we're still, feeling that dread, that worry. So they usually go hand in hand. You know, but they are a little different. So I think it's important to kind of know that maybe sometimes we're not anxious, we're just stressed, or vice versa.
Especially in the day and age of diagnoses being thrown around, it's very important, I think, to know the difference. So
Yeah.
that's just
Well,
definitely something to keep in mind. And again, like anxious, like okay, maybe I should say stress. Stress is a good thing to have. Feeling that like edge that, like if you have a job interview, feeling stressed about that, that could be
Yeah.
a good thing. Like
Yeah.
that's allowing you to prepare yourself for it. Sure, there's things that we can do to like, again, better manage that stress. We can
Mhm.
prepare, we can take deep breaths, we can affirm ourselves, we can pray, we can, make sure we're working out during that time, like those sorts of
Yeah,
things to handle.
meditation, mindfulness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and and I think too, what most people that are watching this, or most people that like I come in contact with, that you come in contact with, when we see that they have poor stress management, it's usually work. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes it's, they have a new baby. Sometimes it's they have a new puppy, a new kitty cat, if you will. Any kind of major life change. Those things are what us adults, which I feel like it's rude that I'm in the category of an adult because I really don't want to be. But, that's usually what is causing stress, and so that's why incorporating, like, working out into your routine or some kind of hobby, like movement, is so important, because if you are dealing and sometimes even if you have those things, you still might not be dealing with stress well, like,
Hmm.
I have stories of my own life where I've been in high stress situations long term, and my body has reacted very negatively to it. Um, we see all the time in medicine, or like, people that go to the hospital, they have these things wrong with them. I've heard so many like testimonials of like what stress has done to people's bodies, whether it be, sometimes it can trigger autoimmune situations. Sometimes it can cause rashes. Sometimes, like, the body doesn't like lots of stress for a long period of
Hmm.
time. So, learning to
Yeah.
manage it is so important, whether it's a hobby, whether it's prayer, whether it's whatever it is. And, for people out there that are wanting to maybe lose some weight or they're wanting to become healthier, like, this should be priority number one. Before you do anything
Yes.
else,
Yes. Yes.
this needs to
Yes.
be priority number one, because if it's not, anything else that you do is maybe not necessarily gonna be counterintuitive, but, like, it's gonna be a lot harder if we're not taking care of this first. Um,
Yeah.
so
It's it's very much a ripple effect. So if you're in a super stressful state, what
Mhm,
might be happening is you might not be getting to sleep well. You might be
mhm,
not getting enough quantity or quality because of the stress and the
right,
impact that it's having on your mind or your body physically.
yeah,
And if you're not getting enough sleep, what tends to happen is we tend to stay in that high stress state as well. Our body's not recovering as well. We're then now going to crave more of those carb based foods, which not to demonize carbs, but you're going to crave more of that like quick energy because of what's lacking sleep, which gives your body, the adequate fuel, if you will, to get through the day on top of adequate food. Um, so if you're not fueling your body with good, nutritious foods, you're then also probably putting yourself in a calorie surplus. You're
mhm,
also not getting the micronutrients you need, which all of these things can just perpetuate the cycle of stress and not sleeping and craving more carb heavy foods and not feeling your greatest to work out and all of those sorts of things.
yeah, and, I was doing a presentation for work yesterday, and something I always ask, not to get off the subject of stress, but, like, I ask, "How many of you get at least 8 hours of sleep at night?" No one ever raises their hand. And I find that insane. But I hear a lot when I do those presentations for new hires at my job, I hear a lot like, "Oh, well, I lay in bed, but I'm just awake, like, my mind is just going a million miles a minute." That's
Hmm.
stress. Like, if you
Yep.
can't turn if you can't turn your brain off, it's either A, you've had too much exposure to light, um, or, like, you're dealing with stress, because if you are stressed, and again, back to the cortisol, like, cortisol is in everyone's body, like, we all deal with cortisol, and they call it the stress hormone, but it has a purpose. Cortisol is released when you wake up. It's the wake up hormone, and so if you are really stressed out, more of that cortisol is released. That's your wake up hormone. Of course, you're gonna be laying in bed like sheep number 479, you know?
How many cycles has the fan gone on?
Right. 99, 1,000. Yeah, so, like,
Yeah. And
I
on
just think
top of
that
that, like, caffeine intake super late at
oh,
night.
yeah.
And also caffeine can make you anxious and stressed and those sorts of things. So,
Absolutely. Let me just all these energy drinks that are on the market, again, energy drinks have their time and place. It's not for me because of bad experiences I've had, but each to their own. But if you're taking in more than 400 milligrams of caffeine and you're now realizing, like, wow, I'm like so anxious and jittery all the time. Why do we think that is? It's
right,
because
let's
you're literally
take
like
a moment to pause.
turning the speed up on a million on your body and you're like vibrating.
Yeah. And something else I'll say that I don't think a lot of people think about is their, like, post-work sodas, like diet soda, or regular soda,
Mm,
doesn't really matter. It has, like, 70 to 80 milligrams of caffeine, which is, 3 to 4 hours before you're going to
it's like
bed.
a cup of coffee.
If you are sensitive to caffeine, that really could be impacting your wind down routine and your brain's
Mhm.
ability to shut down. So that's something else to consider is like looking at every little thing like you're consuming
Yeah.
drink wise if it's not freaking water. Even like water flavoring packets can sometimes have them. So that's another thing that like you think it's a little, nighttime wind down situation and it can be, but if you're sensitive, you maybe need to just watch that.
Yeah, or even dark chocolate, like, sometimes I have chocolate
Yeah.
before bed, and it sometimes will, like, take me a little longer to fall asleep because of it, which chocolate doesn't have, like, a crazy amount of caffeine, but it does have a little bit. And I think it's important to note too, for us, especially here in America, to understand that America's culture is very go, go, go. It's very
Yeah.
don't rest, like, it's a hustle culture, which has its time and its place, I think, and I think it's great to work really hard and to have a good work ethic and to do all the things, but also, like, you have to rest. You have to,
Mhm.
like, take a second, you know? Um, and that's something like, for example, with my job situation, like, I used to have a job previously before the one I have now that was very high stress. Um, it was pretty demanding and the pay was not great. So there's that. Um, it was so stressful, like I developed an allergy. Like my body, that's how my body reacted to stress is, you're gonna anaphylaxis. And I get a new job last August, and when I tell you, went away, gone, and the job I have now is, like, I make my own schedule, like, I have a lot of autonomy, and I have more like, it's closer to home, I'm not traveling as much, and I'm just like, "Wow." Like, I was so stressed and didn't even really know it. So
Yes,
sometimes we need that
that is
reflection.
huge.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that's huge, like, a lot of times, especially those who do find themselves overwhelmed and stressed out and overstimulated by little things, like, that is not normal. So, really reflect on what your baseline is and, like, why does sitting in traffic cause you to have this whole catastrophic moment, you know? Like, it really should never come to that, like,
Mhm.
I don't wanna say never, but, like, there's just again, like, can we get on the phone with someone and explain, "Hey, I'm in traffic. I left 30 minutes early and I just can't help traffic," right? Like, a baseline of always feeling tense and tight and, like, on edge, that is not healthy, and that is no way to live your life, so please reflect what needs to change, what can change, what areas can you give some a little bit or take some. Because yeah, that's just no way to live on edge
Right.
unless you're on the edge of glory.
That's right. I am on the edge of glory. So I also wanna mention, some solutions. Obviously
Yes.
not everything has a solution, but some coping mechanisms can be solutions. We talked about exercise, we talked about like volleyball. Um, I've also, anytime I've done stress management consultations, I have encouraged like brain dumping. Sometimes there's
Yes.
a lot going on up here. Sometimes there's nothing going on up here. It depends on the person. But if there's a lot going on, like, especially at night, if you, like, feel like your mind's racing or at any point, sometimes, like, physically writing down, like, all the
Yeah.
things you're worried about, or all the things going on in your head, it almost is like a physical form of release, like, you're dumping it all
Yes.
onto the paper, and sometimes that can be just something that empties your mind and makes you feel less like a million things are going on up there. So I
Yeah.
recommend that. It doesn't work for everybody, and some people are like, "This is stupid, I hate it." I'm like, "All right, then don't do it."
Mhm.
I'm a stress cleaner, okay? When I'm stressed, my house is clean. Now, if I'm in a constant state of stress, it actually starts to
Yeah.
look quite the opposite. It depends on the type of stress. But
So true.
cleaning is so therapeutic for me. I don't know if it's look, not to be anti-feminist, I don't know if it's a woman thing, but I
Let's just make it
swear
clear, like, F the patriarchy, but also sometimes there are some
also,
things.
is there something to this? No, seriously, like, and I hear that from so many women that when they clean, it's like,
Yeah.
I feel better.
Yeah. You know what I think it is? Is it's like that's something that is in your control, is what your environment looks pick up things. Like it's one of the few things that you can truly control. So I think that's why we feel so good. And it's like
Yeah,
your hands are busy. There's something to your hands being busy as
right.
well.
Mhm. And you know what also helps the de-stress? Shopping. My husband hates this form of therapy, but retail therapy is a real thing, okay? And if you think I don't release endorphins buying myself a new outfit, think again. Getting on Amazon. Sometimes I don't even buy. I just like, add to cart. Ooh, yes, add to cart. I might not buy it, but it still feels good.
Exactly. And I love that for you. I love that we've, figured out like just the add to cart feels good, even if we don't
She's like
purchase.
she's like, "Don't stop wasting money." She's like, "My Holly Ramsey is coming out right now,
Coming
and I'm
out.
with
It's
Kaylin."
fine. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I didn't think Holly Ramsey was gonna make an appearance today, but
Right,
here
she
we
should
are.
have. Here we are.
No, but honestly, I do the same thing, or, like, I'll get on Pinterest and, like, look at, like, inspo for my house, and then I'll end up on
Mhm.
Amazon, and I'll just go through and just, like, start looking, but I don't ever really buy. Sometimes, trust me,
You
I
get more
buy
endorphins
plenty.
if you buy.
Yeah.
I hear. I know.
Um, but kinda to backtrack to the journaling thing, especially at the end of the night. If you're someone who sits in bed and, like you said, like, just has a million and 5 things going, I think a brain dump, like, I think journaling has this, like, connotation of it has to be, like, "Today I did da 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 da. This made me feel da 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 da." Journaling is up to you, however you want to
Yes.
journal. Like it can literally be a blank piece of paper and just one word, like scattered across. Like, it does not have to be, you don't have to follow lines. You don't have to stay within your bullet points if you have a bullet point journal. Like it is whatever you need it to be for you. Um, and so I think for a long time, like I struggled with the idea of journaling because I don't want to sit there and be like, my name is Holly, and today I had da 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 da, and it made me feel da 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 da. That's not my style of journaling. So I think just allowing yourself to brain dump, like you said, it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be anything
Mhm.
at all. It's just whatever it needs to be to get it out of your brain onto paper. You can think about it tomorrow. Another thing I tell people all the time with that is if you tend to overthink the next day while laying in bed, write down your to-do list for tomorrow. Write down, the list of things you would like to get done. Um, and on that note, I'll also add, I like to think of my daily to-do list as glass balls versus like a rubber ball. What's going to bounce back if I don't get it done versus what's going to break if it doesn't get done. And that really helps me prioritize. Okay, glass needs to be prioritized. These things, like if I have the energy, the time, the whatever,
Right.
these will get done, can get done, but it's not the end of the world if they don't.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a good point you mentioned, like, the to-do list. That's something and again, like, when I used to do stress management consults, it was for college students. W Take that and just hold on to that for a second because we know that college students are very busy. They're doing all these classes. They literally have all these things to do.
Yeah.
So time management sometimes can be a direct like reason why you're stressed.
Mhm.
And even as an adult, sometimes your time management might not be that great. And so it's causing you more stress. I think it's more common in like college students that actually have, classes and homework and all that stuff. Thank God I'm not there anymore. Mm. I don't think I would go back to college because no thanks. I've done enough. I'm done. I'm
Fair.
all done. I'm all done. But I think, the to-do list is helpful, especially for people that do struggle managing their time because again, like you said, your glass balls versus your rubber balls, like what's a priority? And sometimes it can even help you self-reflect on like, wow, like I'm really not prioritizing some things that I probably should, and that's
Mhm.
why I'm so stressed. So I think, there are so many different avenues, whether it's the to do list, whether it's the brain dumping, whether it's, this is what it is. I just need a physical outlet. Um,
Mhm.
or maybe it's even not like, a physical outlet, although we do recommend those. Like maybe it's spending time with friends, with loved ones, going to therapy, like there are so many options that we have. And so, I
Yeah.
have the, what's it called? The meditation app. I don't remember what it's called. Oh, Headspace.
Yeah.
And that is really helpful for me. It's not for everyone, but sometimes it will make me fall asleep, which is exactly what I need.
True. And I think that's another one of those things very similar to journaling, like, it takes practice, and you
Yeah.
gotta figure out what kind you like, how long you like to do it, like, all those things.
Mhm.
So, like, don't discredit it just because it hasn't worked for you in the past. Also, if you're a chronically stressed person and you've tried things before and you're just, like, throwing the towel in, I would just ask you to reflect, like, where has that gotten you before? Are you willing to continue to live in this chronically stressed state, or would you like to get out of it? And if you would like to get out of it, you might have to be uncomfortable and, sit in the silence of meditation for a little bit and the
Yeah.
uncomfortableness of it in order to reap
Mhm.
the benefits in a month down the road or even a
Right.
week,
Yeah.
you know?
Um, and additionally, you talked about prioritizing sleep. That's huge. Um, and even, I know Holly, you said like you don't like to reframe everything positively. And I definitely agree with that because some things are just not positive. Okay. Sometimes we're just pissed off and want to be mad and stressed. Okay. But I will say that you can be pissed and mad and stressed about this thing, but also practicing gratitude. Like they've done studies
Mhm.
on people who practice gratitude daily and their stress levels way down. Like it's almost a reframing without a reframing. Like you're not reframing the
Mhm.
thing that's causing the stress, but you're maybe directing your attention towards the really good things in your life because we all have really good things going on in our lives. Everyone
Mhm.
can find something. Everyone can find
Yeah.
something. And if you are listening to this and wanting me to shut up, I'm sorry, but everyone can find something.
Yeah. Well,
um,
I'll speak to my experience on that. Like, for those who don't know, I lost my mom a few years back. And while that was the worst thing I think I will ever go through, aside from then losing a sibling or a parent or CJ,
mhm,
um, like at the same time, death that close to you teaches you that nothing else fucking matters. Like all this other shit, like it's not that deep. So it like in a sense it made me more grateful for the other stuff because I had a different idea of like, okay, well, is this life or death? No, probably not. So let me not, let me reframe things, let me be more positive. And so like while that situation sucked, I was also able to see other things in a more grateful way and like I just like it really just opens up your eyes to like what matters at the end of the day and what doesn't.
yeah,
So on one hand, yeah, that sucked and sucks. It continues to suck. And on the other hand, it's like, okay, but it also taught me. some things.
Yeah, definitely. So it can be terrible and awful, but also maybe
Yeah.
next to it in a separate realm, it helped
Yeah.
you to kind of see what was important. So that's good.
Yeah. And
I
I'll say
think
like the power of and versus the power of but, because I learned this like the power of and, it's all coexisting. But when you say da 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 da, but it kind of like makes you feel like you're disregarding the
yeah,
previous
it like
statement.
negates. Mhm.
Yeah. So the power of and has also been something that has really changed my idea of like stress and just overall like gratitude, you know? This
Yeah.
sucks and at least I'm not the one in the car wreck.
Yeah. Right. And I also want to mention like setting boundaries,
Mhm.
that I feel as if this culture is very big on setting boundaries. And while I do think that that can be unbalanced a little bit in one direction or the other, um, I think it's really important to set boundaries. It's important to show up for people, to allow yourself to be inconvenienced, and she will take a page out of Holly's book. And it's important to set boundaries and to not allow yourself to be taken advantage of and not allow
Mhm.
yourself to put too much on your plate. And just, especially with work, like I have mastered setting work boundaries because at the end of the day, if you were to lose your job, they replace you in a week. It's not that serious. Like we go there, like I work to live, I don't live to work. And I I advise everyone to do that because I feel like that should be the purpose. And America's the only culture that lives to work, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's important, like, we're two people who truly love what we do.
Love it. Yes.
And you know that phrase, like, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Excuse me. Yes, you do.
Lies, okay?
You actually do.
You do. Again, let's not rainbows and butterfly everything. Love what I
Right.
do. Love the, the connections I get to make and the impact I get to have on people and everything.
Yeah.
Like you said, work allows you to live the life that you want to live. So it's so important that you have a life outside of work as well with good work life boundaries.
I do want to touch a little bit on some of the unhealthy coping mechanisms that people tend to gravitate towards and that I've even gravitated towards when dealing with high stress. A lot of people, not as much in year 2026, but in general, sometimes substances is something that we reach for when we're in like high stress moments or high stress periods of our life. And I'm not going to tell anyone what substances to take or not take. Obviously, they all have a direct effect on your general health and well being. I drink alcohol
Hmm.
from time to time. If I'm feeling really stressed and I'm going out and being social, sometimes I just want to drink. Okay. I just want to, but I do want to encourage people to self reflect if that is an avenue that you tend to go towards, to like be aware, be intentional, be mindful of it, that it's not becoming excessive. It's not um, even contributing to added stress or to, the
Mm,
negating of or the diminishing of your health.
so true, especially with like we know the impact that alcohol can have on your sleep. So again, if we
Mhm,
take it back to the beginning of the episode where we're talking about the importance of quality of sleep and
mhm.
its role in stress management, like if we're not getting sleep and if you're waking up with a hangover and then, feeling anxiety over that, like the ripple effect is definitely real. And that goes for beyond alcohol. Like there's other substances that can be misused, but I think alcohol is one that we see time and time again, like known to cause disruptions in your sleep quality.
Yeah, and substances also include caffeine. Caffeine is a drug as well, and I'm pretty sure, like, of the list of, like, substances that people you like, some people choose marijuana, some people choose alcohol, some people I mean, I've never heard of anyone coping with caffeine, but I know people over-caffeinate to compensate.
Yeah.
All of those have been scientifically proven to impact your sleep negatively, and impacted sleep is gonna impact other things. So just, like,
Hmm.
food for thought to be mindful of it and to still be aware of if the balance is not balancing. in that realm.
Right. Maybe leaning on other things before leaning on those. And, I mean, there's also such thing as like unhealthy coping mechanisms with exercise, like exercising too much, leaning
Yeah.
on food. So again, just really assessing what you're leaning on and is it healthy? Is it not healthy? Is it in support of your
Yeah.
goals? All those things.
Right.
Um, and I think this kind of draws to like a final point I would like to make is I think it's so important to have a toolbox of healthy coping mechanisms and things that you do that relieve your stress. That way, you can kind of pull from that toolbox as that tool is applicable.
Yeah.
So, not all the time when I'm stressed, reading is one of my favorite things to do. But if
Mm.
I'm overly stressed, reading, I can't, like my mind cannot calm down. So there's got to be something else in my toolbox that I can pull from. For me, that means usually like calling a friend and just talking about it. I'm a talker. I will beat the
If we
horse
can't
dead
tell,
14
we love
times
to talk.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. There's situations that me and my friends are still talking about to this day with the same passion that happened 3 years ago. I
And
don't
we
think
will
that's
beat a dead
unhealthy.
horse. And
We
we
will.
will. Where's that horse at? Actually, I love
Exactly.
horses, but maybe we need to come up with a
Right.
different saying. Who came up with that saying and who allowed it to go on this long?
Yeah, and also in Kentucky, it feels extremely criminal, especially the time
Feels
of the
so
year we're entering.
disrespectful.
But read the room, Holly, damn it. But seriously, like having a toolbox that have different energy levels, different mental capacities, energy
Yeah,
capacities, like all of the things, depending on what's stressing you out and what you've got to give to those things can be really important.
absolutely. And like we said, if you're on a health and wellness journey, you're wanting to lose weight, you're wanting to gain muscle, maybe you need to gain weight, maybe you want to eat better, maybe you want to feel better. If you're someone who's very stressed, you have a lot of stress going on in your life and you're not handling that, that should be priority, hands down, because you can't
Hmm.
focus on this stuff if this is not like your mental well-being is arguably the most important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the moral of the story is that whether we want to believe it or not, stress is impacting our body. And we say it all the time. Y'all are going to get tired of hearing us talk about stress, sleep, the all or nothing mindset,
Right. Like, give it
balance.
a rest.
Like, give it a damn rest. Let them sleep, okay?
Have y'all slept?
But for real, like it truly is so important. Like I would put if I had to create like a wellness trifecta of the top 3 things, I would truly put sleep and stress management as the top 2. Um, I'd have to think about my third a little bit, but unquestionably sleep and stress management in my top 2 or my top 3 for sure. That is a wrap on stress management and the importance of stress management. And we hope that this episode has given you the space to think about where you're at with your own stress and where you're at with your stress management habits. As always, if you need us, you know where to find us on Instagram at Cut the BS or either of our personal pages. We are always happy to chat, and we will catch you guys in the next episode. And let me just tell y'all, we've got something good cooking.
Do we?
Stay tuned.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Cut the BS with Holly and Rachel. If today gave you a dose of clarity, confidence, or even just a good laugh, we've done our job.
Don't forget, wellness isn't about doing more, it's about doing what actually works for you. So take what hit home, leave the rest, and keep showing up as your strongest, realest self.
Be sure to follow, rate, and share this episode with someone who's ready to cut the BS and live with more intention. Until next time.